Okay, welcome everybody to the Making Motor Music video manual. In this video I will briefly discuss different aspects of motor music and the basics that you can use. I will show different parts of equipment, talk about a way to structure your music and give examples of that structure on different levels and let you listen to a small piece I composed based on the structures that I have explained. To start with, I have 4 different motors that I can show you guys. The first one is a tiny servo motor. I don't necessarily use it, but it's something that you could experiment with. Then there's a small 5 volt DC electro motor, DC meaning direct current, so that the electricity flows in only one direction. Then you got a 15 volt transmission motor. Transmission meaning that there's a set of gears in this extended part of the motor itself, which means that the output rotation speed is lower than the rotation speed of what is inside the motor. And then last is my most used motor. It is a 12 volt transmission motor. You can see that I've done quite some things with it, welded on it. And here as well, these are the main motors that I use most of the time. You can still see the surfboard wax that's on them from a previous project I had with it. And as you can see, because these are all connected with their wires, if you turn one, the other ones also turn. And the good thing I think about me using these engines is that I've used them already for quite some time, so they have some wear and tear. That basically just gives them a great personality. I wouldn't say that I can recognize the sound of each motor when I hear it, but I do know that each one of these 4 motors has a slight difference to them, and that's just due to the fact that they've been quite intensely used over the past couple of years. I'd say that the last 4 or 5 years. And now we're on to the next part of making motor music. I will shortly introduce the method that I use to define my music and to define different components within music. This is also an abstract approach in which you can see the whole genre, different parts of the genre, different parts of the instrument, or as you can see in my example, different sounds that come from different setups for the motor itself. The colors itself come from the card game Magic the Gathering, and they describe certain themes that a card has. The translation of the MTG colors that I use is a translation from the color theme to champion themes in the game called League of Legends. For this, the colors are red, green, blue, black, white, and artifact/colorless. The main theme and or definition of red is that it's very aggressive. The main theme thing of green is that it has harmony, or it has synergy, you could say. The main thing of blue is that it's control/manipulation. The main thing of black is that it's power at a cost. The main thing of white is that it fits with everything, so you could say it's a jack of all trades. And the main aspect of colorless is that it's a dedicated theme and it's strong inside that theme. So artifact colorless is sort of the widest option that you have. To put it into perspective and look at it from different levels, you could connect it with certain bands. Of course, I'm only limited by the bands that I listen to, so this will be, and it's also subjective because it's an opinion, but it is a way to clarify what I mean by using it on different levels. So for me, a red band, by looking at red is very aggressive, would be Slayer. A green band, which has a lot of harmony and synergy, is Queen. A blue band, which has control and manipulation, is Jimi Hendrix. If only I could type. A black band is John Weiss. John Weiss is a noise sound artist. The power at a cost that you have is that you have to be interested in noise music. It's not something for everybody. A white example for me would be the Red Hot Chili Peppers, just because they've had such a versatile repertoire of songs and albums. And an artifact/colorless band would be Enter Shikari. They're not really defined within one genre, but the genres that they fit in extremely well. Another lower level that you could look at the MTD colors is by looking at it within one single band. And the band that I had as an example is Metallica. Because Metallica has the rhythm guitar, then you have the lead guitar, you have bass guitar, you have drums, vocals, and the sound engineer. For me, the rhythm guitar is red, just because it starts out, and as we know, James Hetfield likes to play aggressive. That's also the little bit of the sound that they have. But the rhythm guitar is red. It's the start of the song, and later on it gets less important, and it gets less important when the lead guitar gets in. Yet the lead guitar is black, in my opinion, not blue. It is black because you need something around it to make it happen. The bass guitar is green because it's very harmonious with the lead guitar, the rhythm guitar, the vocals, the drums. It sort of fits everything together and works very well in the songs that they make as a whole. The drums are blue just because they control the tempo that the song has. Of course, drums are drums are a very rhythmic instrument and sounds, so the drums sort of set the tone for what the rest of the songs are gonna do. Vocals, in my opinion, are white, just because every single song can have vocals, and that vocals is not necessarily such a defining term as, for example, within a band, the bass guitar or the rhythm guitar, the lead guitar. And then the sound engineer is the artifact/colorless one. Just because it's also similar to vocals, but it's an even more diverse subject that for within Metallica is very strong for themselves. Then to put that into perspective with making motor music, I recorded some samples with my favorite microphone and my favorite motors. And at first I want to let you listen to all of the samples at once. As you can hear, that sounds quite chaotic, but also interesting. There's a lot of different dynamics that happen when you combine all these sounds. And I must say, the only edit that I did outside of recording the sound is that I cropped the 3-volt sample, because I didn't turn on my microphone when I turned on my microphone when the motor wasn't turning yet, so the beginning of the sound was just empty. But besides this, there has been no editing done to any of these sound clips. The way that I look at it and the way that I see these different sounds is that, as a starter, I started with recording a 12-volt motor at 3-volt as operating speed, and it sounds only like this. To me, this is similar to the bass line in a song, and it's a little bit of a harmonious, synergetic sound. So for me, the 3 volt would be a green sound. Or not a green sound, but it would have the color green. Then if we look at the 12 volt, which is the let's say the optimal running voltage or the maximum voltage that the motor, if you follow the manual, can take, which sounds like this. Which is already a lot higher and a lot more aggressive, but for me this would be white. Just because it's a little bit versatile, and as you will hear with the 21 volts, it's sort of in between the lows and the highs, and that's why it's sort of a jack of all trades. It could go either way, it could go up or it could go down. Then for the 21 volt sample, which is almost double of what the motor is supposed to take as input voltage. And for me, this is a very black sound, just because it's such almost a painful, very high, aggressive note that isn't really fitting into a lot of things. You need a lot of things around this sound in order to make it work, and that's the cost that the sound has. That's the power that it can have, only at the cost of the composition that you build around it. Then onto the slope of a low voltage up until a high voltage. And so on and so on. It only gets higher. You know what the 21 volt sounds like, so you know where the sound is most likely gonna end. For me, the low to high would be blue. Just because you can hear the manipulation of the sound, and it feels like a very controlled subject, and it feels like a very controlled way of listening to the sound and of exposing yourself to what's happening. And now onto the last one, the high to low voltage. For me, the last one, the high to low, is the color red. The red meaning the aggressive, but that's mainly because it starts out so incredibly high and similar to the 21 volt. It's a very aggressive, sort of almost annoying sound. If you hear it at the first time, or if you hear it only as what it is. And in League of Legends, one of the defining things of the color red is that it drops off in later stages. So throughout time, it will become less aggressive, less meaningful, less impactful. And that is also what you can see happening inside the graph of the sound file. Now, a way that you can use this approach to work on music is that you could, for example, even say, all right, I know that Metallica, for me at least, has these kind of colors connected to each instrument. So I can straight up follow a song that Metallica has made and sort my sound samples in time based on the way that Metallica does it. The other way that you can look at it is if you have multiple sounds that are incredibly white or blue, that you're not going to want to pair them up at the same time with red, just because red has such different qualities than what blue has, that it's not advised to use them together, to use them at the same time, just because they're not really compatible with each other. Whereas if you want to use red and white, white being a jack of all trades, you can use it together with other colors to create a more harmonious, synergized sort of composition. And I'm not talking about the color green, which symbolizes harmony and synergy. I'm talking about looking at the overall picture and looking at the way that these sounds can be combined together. My main thing with using the MTG color theory and applying it to different games, sports, aspects in life, and now especially to music, is that it's a way of looking at systems on different levels. Similar to how you can view atoms being part of molecules, molecules being part of cells, cells being part of organisms, organisms being part of an ecosystem being part of a planet being part of a solar system being part of a galaxy, and a galaxy being part of a universe. It's a single abstract theory that can be applied to multiple levels and retain its value.